incredible facility here at the Premier Ballroom at the beautiful Stiefel Theater, historic Stiefel Theater, for our President's Hall of Fame breakfast. Before we begin our formal program today, we would like to, and it'd be only proper, to recognize our presenting sponsor for this year's event, and it's Enterprise Center. And with us today is Todd Mitchell, Vice President and General Manager for Enterprise Center and Stiefel Theater. Todd, thanks to you, both of these venues, which are such a big part of Arch Madness, and to the entire St. Louis Blues organization for your support for the Valley and Arch Madness. Todd, take a bow, brother. Go Blues. Win another cup, have a parade, have another party right here at Stiefel Theater. It was a benchmark, obviously, in the 06-07 academic year because it was the centennial year of the Missouri Valley Conference, 100 years. The Valley, and many times for our 10 institutions, and soon to grow to 12, you can take it for granted the fact that only the Big Ten, which is established in 1896, was founded earlier than the Valley. It has been a remarkable history, 115 years. A total of 34 universities have been a part of this league. You look at its unique and rich history. Dr. James Naismith was one of the founding fathers of the league, and of course was the inventor of basketball. The original members, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Drake, WashU, Ames Teachers College, now Iowa State. K-State was soon added. There have been 27 other institutions that have, since that time, that have hailed from 13 different states. But it's very exciting because on July 1 of this year, the conference will welcome the Belmont University Bruins, the Murray State Racers, and the Flames of the University of Illinois Chicago. And all three of those will be fantastic additions to this league. This league has been nationally competitive in virtually every sport that it has sponsored. We have seen Olympians. We have seen individual national champions. We have seen team national champions. We have seen coaching legends and student athletes that have become household names. This league, quite honestly, if you study its history, we talk about now being brave and taking initiatives, particularly as it comes to equality and equity. This league was way ahead of everybody else in that regard. And every campus here has had its own story. I've tried to reveal that when we do our telecasts. But it would not happen without strong leadership on our campuses. And our President's Council has been committed to having the best athletic programs possible. And these men and women have led the way in building and improving athletics facilities, interest and passion on their campuses, and it has not been easy, especially the last 2 years. But it is only proper that we would recognize each of our members that are in attendance from the Valley President's Council with us this morning. Let's hold our applause till I get all of them introduced, and then you can give a robust cheer to people who have worked tirelessly under difficult circumstances on their individual campuses and to navigate, especially, the role of intercollegiate athletics the last 2 years in the Missouri Valley Conference. From Bradley University, Dr. Stephen Standiford. From Drake University, Earl Marty Martin. From the University of Evansville, Christopher Petroskevich, President P. From Illinois State University, Dr. Terry Goss-Kinsey and her husband, Scott. From Loyola University Chicago, Dr. Joanne Rooney. From Missouri State University, President Cliff Smart and his wife, Gail. From the University of Northern Iowa, Dr. Mark Nook and his wife, Cheryl. The president of the Southern Illinois University System, Dr. Dan Mahoney. And from Southern Illinois University, the Chancellor, Dr. Austin Lane. And from Valparaiso University, President Jose Padilla. Would you please give them a cheer for all of their work and leadership? Also, before we induct our newest folks into the hall, I want to thank a few individuals that have had a hand in working really year-round in making this day possible. Amber Marshall and Stephanie Wigington of the Stiefel Theater staff, Chris Fromm and Logan Putnam of Enterprise Center have again worked very hard to make this happen in this incredible facility. The Valley's got a lean and mean staff, and they work beyond to double shifts to make it happen, not just for this event, but year-round. And Valley Assistant to the Commissioner in Special Events, Angie Allen, has been responsible for the planning and execution of this morning's event. Associate Commissioner Mike Kern is the chair of the Hall of Fame Committee, and that's a tough job. He has provided guidance in the selection of the inductees, and also the Valley Director of Marketing and Corporate Fulfillment, Russell Suzuki, contributed to this morning's ceremony. From those folks on the Valley staff, please recognize them and give them your round of applause. And also, a big part of this event is the work of Jim Trotter, the St. Louis-based photographer and artist who has produced the stunning frame portraits that will be presented to the inductees and to their schools today. Jim and his son, Jim Jr., are with us today, and so let's show our appreciation for their incredible work. Thank you. I got to ask you, Cliff, did Smithson let you warm up before you play? Always. He had to get you warmed up, brother. I see it. Carla, same thing with you. It's Coach Stone. I'm trying. Yeah, Coach Stone. Let you warm up. In his first year, it's not even his first year, actually. He's only been 220 days in office, so to speak. And we did not let Jeff warm up one bit. Didn't even tape his ankles. I mean, it wasn't even getting in the blocks of the 100-meter dash. Boom, the gun went off, and he started running and got in his lane, and all he's been doing is keeping his head down and going because he's had to deal with the pandemic, scheduling issues, and of course the 3 schools that we've added that have been fantastic. But Jeff brings a very unique resume to being commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference. I mentioned it yesterday at our Coach of the Year luncheon honoring our student athletes and our award winners that Jeff has been a coach. He's been a head recruiter. He has been an assistant coach. He's been a lead administrator at 2 conferences, including his years with the Big 12. All told, going back to his undergraduate days at Cornell, he has been involved at 9 different conferences in a variety of ways. That brings a unique perspective and expertise to the job. So, he might be a little tired because he's just been running ever since. He's been like on a treadmill. But please welcome Commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference, Jeff Jackson.
In case you're wondering, this is pretty cool. I don't know how many of you had the chance to be at our coaches' luncheon yesterday. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I was telling the boss last night, and for those of you who don't know, the boss is my wife. She kind of runs things where I live, and we were kind of equating it to when we bought our first house. And as Mitch was talking about, we spent a lot of time as the Missouri Valley over the last few months going out and talking to other institutions about the values, the characteristics, the traits, the things that make the Missouri Valley Conference a very special place as we talk to these institutions about joining us to enhance and make us better and improve our student-athlete experience. And the thing that, especially with me being a little bit of a neophyte, the thing that just kept ringing out is just how unique and how special this place is. And I just felt so much of that yesterday at the luncheon, and basically what I've seen over my first 8 months having the chance to represent this conference. And I think the thing that the day brings out and truly enhances is the fact that when we're talking about Carla, when we're talking about Cindy, when we're talking about Charlie, when we're talking about Cliff, when we're talking about Tom, and obviously I've got a special place in my heart when we're talking about Doug, we're talking about people who very much exemplify what the Missouri Valley Conference is all about. Not only during their time when they were students or athletes or administrators, but just about in every single walk of their life. So it's with great pleasure that we will start the process of inducting these people into the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame. I'm going to kick it back to Mitch. When I come back in a future life, I want to have his voice. And I hope everybody enjoys our games today and has a great time enjoying Arch Madness. Good luck to all the teams still participating.
Thanks so much, Jeff. This is the 32nd chapter of Arch Madness. 32 years, Doug. The 28th year at Enterprise Center. This venue, the site of the Valley Tournament since 1995, and the competition venue for 5 NCAA basketball championship events, including the 2001 and the 2009 Women's Final Fours, has undergone an incredible renovation to become one of the nation's top athletic venues. Only the Big East run in New York City has been longer at a single neutral site than what's been done by the Valley, America's Renaissance Conference, here in St. Louis. It's the perfect setting for our Arch Madness. And 1 week before NCAA Selection Sunday. Now, I do want to recognize Vice Chair for the NCAA Basketball Committee, who's here, one of our own, because it's Bradley's Director of Athletics, Dr. Chris Reynolds. Where is Dr. Reynolds? There you are. Anything you need. We got people in here that specialize in lobbying, okay? So we got presidents in here that have to get funding, and so anything you need, Chris, like if you need some extra fruit or a bagel or something, just let us know. We're counting on you, brother. I'm just saying, I'm just teasing. Doug will tell you, Jeff will tell you, being on that committee, man, whew, that's tough work, but it's an honor. And thanks for representing us on that committee. Well, it's time now for our inductees, and our first was a pioneer in this league in many ways, a 2-time Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year in football, a 2015 recipient of the Pete Rozelle Award for Excellence in Broadcasting. He had 2 different careers. He was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame for that Rozelle Award. He is a Veterans Committee selection to the Valley's Athletics Hall of Fame. The Veterans Committee charged with recognizing student athletes, coaches, and league contributors whose school is no longer a member of the Valley. But a native of Cleveland, Ohio, Tom Jackson was a really good linebacker, a 3-time All-Valley pick for the Louisville Cardinals from 70 to 72. He led the Cardinals in tackles all 3 years, amassing 373 tackles in 3 seasons. He had 30 tackles in 1 game against North Texas. That's still second best all time in Louisville singles game history. A 3-time Pro Bowl selection and a 4-time All-Pro choice. He started at linebacker, and this is tough for me to say, but it's all good, for the Denver Broncos for 14 seasons. Tom was awesome as a player and as a broadcaster. And following his playing career, he had a 30-year run as an NFL analyst for ESPN and had 7 Sports Emmy Awards in the process. But Valley correspondent Scott Warman relates the heart and soul of the Orange Crush defense back in the day goes into the Valley Hall of Fame.
Tom Jackson was a 3-time first-team All-League pick and 2-time Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year in football as a member of the Louisville Cardinals from 1970 to 72. He helped Louisville earn league titles in 1970 and 72 while playing for Coach Lee Corso. The 1970 crown represented the first for Louisville in its football history. Louisville recorded an overall record of 23-7-2 during his 3 seasons and played in the Pasadena Bowl in 1970. He led the Cardinals in tackles all 3 years, amassing 373 total tackles in just 3 seasons. His 30 tackles against North Texas in 1971 still ranks second best all time in Louisville's single game history. Jackson's number 50 was retired by the Cardinals in 1999. Following his collegiate playing career, he starred at linebacker for the Denver Broncos, where he was part of the storied Orange Crush defense. He led the team with 116 tackles during the 1974 season and played for the Broncos from 1973 through 86, playing in 191 career games. In his 14 seasons, Jackson was a Pro Bowl selection 3 times and was a 4-time All-Pro. He had 20 career interceptions and 8 fumble recoveries, and he helped the Broncos to championship appearances in Super Bowl 12 and Super Bowl 21. In 1992, he became just the 14th Bronco inducted into the team's Ring of Fame. Following his playing career, Jackson enjoyed a successful 29-year run as an NFL analyst for ESPN and was presented the Pete Rozelle Award for Excellence in Broadcasting by the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2015. He earned 7 Sports Emmy Awards. Jackson currently lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, with his wife, Jennifer. For the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm Scott Warman.
Tom could not be with us this morning, but he did send us his acceptance speech.
I've never really been comfortable talking about myself and my accomplishments on a football field, so I thought it'd be a great night to allow one of my teammates to speak for me. Dave Bowling was the center on our Louisville team when I was the middle linebacker, and he went into the newspaper business in Washington State, and he wrote an article years later about his fellow teammate, Tom Jackson. It's fairly self-explanatory. Most athletes who show up at college on athletic scholarship have spent the previous year gobbling up recruiters' lies about how great they are. Sadly, some of us believed it all. Suitably deluded, I presumed that the unimposing middle linebacker in his stance across from me would offer little challenge. It was the first scrimmage between the freshman team offense and defense at the University of Louisville in the summer of 1969. I didn't know much about the guy at linebacker, except he wasn't particularly big. He seemed to be having a lot of fun all the time. And I thought, what? He doesn't take this seriously. He was from Cleveland, I heard, a guy named Tommy Jackson. Shouldn't be a problem. I fired out, ready to deck him, but he wasn't there. Second play, he wasn't there again. I was sure I could block him if he stood still long enough. This was at a time when middle linebackers and centers customarily spent the day swapping concussions. This guy didn't bother sticking around to hammer me with forearm flippers. He was too busy slicing through gaps and running down the ball carrier. Every play, I guess I underestimated him. Freshmen weren't eligible back then to play varsity football, but we had 3 games against freshman teams from other schools. This Jackson kid intercepted 3 passes in 3 games. While that's unheard of for a middle linebacker, we can add this to the awe factor. He returned every one for a touchdown. That's pretty good, huh? 3 interceptions, 3 returns for touchdown. Consider this. Those interceptions all came inside our own end zone, and he returned them for scores of 101, 102, and 103 yards. But this story isn't about numbers, although those are some grabbers. It's about who this Tom Jackson guy is, or rather was, back before he was a 14-year veteran with the Denver Broncos and a fixture on ESPN's NFL coverage. Not surprisingly, as the heart of the team, he was voted team captain. But we had another undersized linebacker, an inspirational guy named Tommy Martin, a former walk-on who played so ferociously that he was nicknamed Piranha. When the voting took place, I was sitting next to Jackson, peeked over to see whose name he had written down for captain before folding over his ballot. Tommy Martin. He voted for the other guy. That's the kind of guy Tom Jackson was, and I presume still is. With his high-profile media position, Jackson has been a great ambassador for us, and I'd bet that of the 100 or so guys on the team, almost every one of them would still consider Tom a buddy. On any team, there are a few stars and then a bunch of other guys. The stars are usually separated by their talent. But with Tom, there was never any separation by ego, never any big timing, never any distance between him and the rest of us. He was a star who was happy to be one of the guys, and that's a rare and admirable quality. I can't tell you how honored I am to be inducted into the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame. I want to say congratulations to my fellow inductees, especially Charlie Steiner, who is a friend and a former colleague. And I want to wish everybody a great evening, and I hope that in some small way, I may have helped to enhance your evening. Thank you guys so much.
And thanks to Tom. Our next inductee, I think, represents one of the golden eras of women's college basketball, not only in our conference, but in the country. It was thrilling. And I see Jill sitting out here. We got a chance to do a lot of these games. But when Carla played in the league was really, really, really good. We had a team get to the Final Four here, but Carla was one of the bright stars of that time and had a blue tint to that star, wearing the Drake blue. One of the more decorated women's basketball players in the history of the Valley. Carla Bennett, a two-time All-American. She led the Bulldog ladies to 3 Valley championships at a time when it was hard to win a Valley championship, and 3 trips to the NCAA tournament. A 4-time All-Valley first-team selection, one of just 8 league women's basketball student athletes to achieve that distinction, and at that time of her graduation, she was just the 3rd to accomplish the feat, with Valley Hall of Famers Wanda Ford and Jackie Stiles. She was a member of Drake's 2002 Sweet 16 team. She scored 29 points in one of the greatest victories a Valley team has ever had in the women's basketball tournament, beating Baylor 76-72. Carla received a total of 11 Missouri Valley Conference accolades, and she was a Wade Trophy finalist. Carla Bennett was selected to the league's 25-year anniversary women's basketball team. As Valley correspondent, Kelly Burke outlines, Carla Bennett etched her name into Missouri Valley Conference history.
A 2-time All-American, Carla Bennett led Drake women's basketball teams to 3 Missouri Valley Conference championships, including 2 regular season crowns and 1 tournament crown, and 3 NCAA tournament appearances from 1999 to 2003. While at Drake, Bennett was a 4-time All-MVC first-team selection, one of just 8 league women's basketball student athletes to earn 4 All-MVC first-team honors. Notably, upon her graduation in 2003, she was just the 3rd league player to accomplish that feat, joining MVC Hall of Famers Wanda Ford of Drake and Jackie Stiles of Missouri State.
The legacy and impact she's had on the game, I think, like at Drake and then also the Missouri Valley Conference. I mean, I'm so happy for her to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, because it's definitely warranted.
Bennett was a member of Drake's 2002 NCAA Sweet 16 team and scored a season-high 29 points in the Bulldogs' 76-72 upset win over number 2 seed Baylor to advance to the Sweet 16 that season.
She thrived on getting better every single year, and it was just so fun to play with her. And what I take away too, a lot of times you like to compare like how we would be in today's game, and Carla is that type of player where she could easily play in today's game. She had that mobility, she had that soft touch, and she had the aggressive nature to her to add something new to her game every single year, and she just got better every single year, and it was just a blast to be her teammate.
She ranks 8th in career scoring at Drake with 1,930 points, which is 14th in MVC history. Bennett also ranks in the top 10 all-time in league history in career field goal percentage, block shots, and rebounds.
I just want to thank her. Thank her for choosing to be a Drake Bulldog. We're so proud of all the eras that we had at Drake. And she is certainly a shining light, and she's just a great young woman. I love it when great players are also even better people, and Carla is certainly that.
Currently living near Philadelphia and managing the U.S. compliance operations for an international financial risk management company, Bennett was the 2000 MVC Freshman of the Year, a three-time League All-Tournament selection in 2000, 2001, and 2002, a two-time MVC Scholar Athlete First Team selection in 2002 and in 2003, a member of the League's All-Defensive Team in 2002, and was also a Wade Trophy finalist. Bennett was selected to the League's 25-year anniversary women's basketball team in 2018. For the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm Kelly Burke.
Literally in the center of the dog's success during her time at Drake. Ladies and gentlemen, our newest inductee, Carla Bennett.
Not warned that they were going to try to make me cry. Seeing teammates and coaches up there, that's just a real trip for me. This is wild. I didn't know that video acceptance speeches were allowed. I might have chosen that option had I known. But this is wild. When I got the call from Commissioner Jackson, he introduced himself. And my first thought was literally, oh, I wonder if the MVC needs a lawyer, because it did not occur to me that this was going to happen. It's such an honor. I want to thank the conference, the committee, Drake. I assume someone must have nominated me. That's pretty cool. Thanks. Angie, I know your name was mentioned. Thanks for getting me here and for all of us here. This is pretty awesome. And Tom, for not getting any of us lost yet. Although I did hear you got Cliff lost, so I bet he wishes I didn't mention that, huh? So I ended up at Drake in 1999, a bit by accident, I suppose, but it's probably more like fate or kismet if you believe in those kinds of things. I had looked at all the big schools in the area. I looked at Nebraska, I looked at Iowa State, Missouri. I didn't like any of them. None of them really fit me. So I'd planned a trip to, I think it was Arizona State maybe. And I remember my dad pulling me aside and saying, you know, I support you, but if you go to Arizona State, I'm never gonna get to see you play. And so with that lovely measure of paternal guilt on my shoulders, I decided to take a look at Drake, who had been in my recruiting pipeline, but I hadn't paid much attention to because I'd never heard of them. I'd never heard of the MVC. But I went on a recruiting visit there. And from the moment I met the coaching staff, Coach Bluter, who was just a firehouse, Jan Jensen you saw up there, got to know the teammates, saw the school, saw the focus on academics, I knew it was home for me. It was one of those weird things where it just felt absolutely right. So I stepped in there. I was planning to play behind Tammy Blackstone for a year, and for my money, she's the best center to have ever played the game. She was just a powerhouse. But when I got there, I learned that her knees were bad, and she was limited to 10 minutes a game, and they needed a new starter. And coaches were looking at me, and I was looking literally anywhere else, because I did not want that job. Like, I did not want to take over for Tammy Blackstone, but I had to do that. Ended up with Freshman of the Year that year, and that kind of got everything started for the rest of my career. But really what means more to me than any athletic success in my time at Drake and in this conference is the focus of Drake and this conference on the scholar part of scholar athletes. And I wanted to just say thank you for that, because I think that was uncommon even when I played. And now with the NIL running around and all kinds of other things out there, I think it's even less common. So I just want to encourage you guys to keep your focus on that, because that's what helps the players develop into the people that can find success off the court, off the field, down into their future. For last minute thank yous, I've got the family here, mom and dad, who are my biggest supporters, always have been. My sister Carrie, who likes to call herself Carla's sister. But if there was a Hall of Fame for like kindness and generosity, she'd be in the inducting class. Niece and nephew, Miles and Clara, they never saw me play, but somehow are huge cheerleaders. And my son Luca, who it's a good wave, buddy, who at 6 years old already is better at me at ball handling, which if you ever saw me play is really not saying all that much at all. But thank you for this. It's truly an honor, and just continues to blow my mind. Clearly, I can't even get the words out, so thank you.
And again, many would agree in here, the era in which Carla excelled was one of the best in Valley times. So many good teams and so many good players. Our next inductee completes a match set of Wichita State basketball standouts. Cliff Levingston could really play, and he was a bookend with 1999 Valley Hall of Famer Antoine Carr. Led the Shockers to national prominence in the early 1980s. A two-time first-team All-Valley choice, he compiled nearly 1,500 points and almost 1,000 rebounds in just 3 seasons, leading the Shocks in rebounding every year and averaging 11 boards per game for his career. He also led the Shockers to one of the biggest Valley wins and Wichita State wins of all time in the famous Battle of New Orleans, Cliff, against the University of Kansas. I won't forget it. A native of San Diego, California, Levingston wore number 54, retired in November of 1988. Led the Shockers to a 26-7 record in 1981 in that trip to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament. First-round pick of the Pistons in '82. He was a member of the Bulls' first 2 NBA title teams in 1991 and '92, and averaged 7 points and 5 rebounds a game in 11 NBA seasons. As Scott Warman explains, Cliff Levingston played a key role in the conference's basketball emergence.
Cliff Levingston came all the way from San Diego to star at Wichita State. His impact was immediately felt after leading the team in scoring his freshman and sophomore seasons. With averages of 15.7 and 18.5 points per game, he was named first-team All-MVC in 1981 and again in 1982. Following his success throughout his first 3 seasons, he decided to forego his senior year and enter into the NBA draft. The 1981 Shockers compiled a 26-7 record and advanced to the Final 8 before losing to LSU in the NCAA Midwest Regional Championship in New Orleans. His Wichita State number 54 was retired in November of 1998. Known for his engaging personality and warm smile, Levingston teamed with Antoine Carr to form the bookend forwards tandem that led the Shockers to national prominence in the decade. In his 3-year career at Wichita State, he compiled 1,471 points and 965 rebounds while pacing the Shockers and rebounding in each of his 3 seasons, averaging 10.6 boards per game for his career. His points and rebounds currently rank 14th and 4th on the school's scoring and rebounding lists respectively. His 53.8 career field goal percentage also ranks 5th all-time in school history. A first-round draft pick of the Detroit Pistons in 1982, he was a member of the Chicago Bulls' first 2 NBA titles in 1991 and 1992. In his 11 seasons in the NBA, he played for the Pistons, Atlanta Hawks, Bulls, and Denver Nuggets. Levingston has spent the last 2 decades as a coach and currently is the head coach of the Kokomo, Indiana Bobcats. For the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm Scott Warman.
In the day, on Cliff Shorts, you saw the MTXE, which is for mental toughness, extra effort. But I think this morning we could add 2 more, and that's FM for Footprint Maker. Ladies and gentlemen, a world champion, a champion in every stretch or form of the imagination, Cliff Levingston.
Wow. This has been something I've never even imagined was going to be possible. To be standing up, being inducted into the Hall of Fame of Missouri Valley Conference. I just remember back in the day when I first started playing basketball, my high school coach, who was my middle school coach, talked me into playing basketball, which I hated with a passion. I wanted to be a pro baseball player. I wanted to be like Dave Winfield. And he saw something in me. He saw that special twinkle that coaches see in kids' eyes, and he nurtured that. I was always saying, I'm not good as this guy, I'm not good as this guy, I can't do this, I can't do that. One thing he preached to me is fundamentals. Understanding the fundamentals of the game is what will excel you to catch up to everyone else. And if you have a little bit of talent, it'll take you past them. Well, I remember one day he told me he wanted me to go to the gym, go to the park and do some drills. I went to the park, I sat on the sideline, was outside, I was throwing rocks. And he asked me next, did you do the drills? I said, yeah, I went to the park, I did the drills. He said, no, you didn't. You sat on the side, throwing rocks and not doing the drills. He said, I'm gonna give you one more chance. I want you to go and practice your drills. I practiced my drills the next time, and I started getting better. Before the season ended, I ended up being very good, and I ended up making the all-star team, just practicing drills. So I tell kids, I train kids all the time, the fundamentals are more important than wanting to go behind your back and do all the fancy stuff. Stay basic. So at this time, I now have a chance to play high school ball, and I look up, I'm in the top 5 players in the state of California. Now I have all these schools coming at me. San Diego State, Cal Berkeley, UCLA, USC, everybody's coming at me, UNLV. I remember going to Wichita, and I was like, this is a long way from home, but hey, I want to get out of California. I ended up choosing Wichita State. Well, I really didn't choose Wichita State. My mother chose Wichita State. I wanted to go to UNLV, but she said Wichita State. Well, I remember my first winter in Wichita, Kansas, coming from San Diego. All I know is it was snow drifts that was 15 feet high. And I was like, what in the world did I get myself into? But the people in Wichita, Kansas, in the Midwest made me feel so at home and warm. It was like I was supposed to be there. And that's what the Valley was about back then. It was a family. Every team we played against in the Valley, it was a dogfight. And we called it back in that day the Valley of Death. It was hard to get out of the Valley to get into the tournament. You know, I remember Drake, Bradley, Tulsa, and Creighton. Those are our biggest fights we had. And when I was coming up and I had a chance to play, my first start was against Indiana State. And I'll never forget that because myself and Antoine Carr, we were, well, the bookends, and you know, we made a name for ourselves, but we first came with a big high expectations of wanting to make a name for the school, bring the school to prominence. You know, freshmen always think, yeah, I'm gonna be the big thing, but him and I, we were every day in practice pushing our seniors, and our seniors missed curfew, and when he missed curfew, that was it. They never ever started starting jobs again, and we took over from that point on. And Antoine and I, we led Wichita State like no other. We were on a mission to just make the school a powerhouse again. And I just want to thank my coaches, Coach Jeff Jones, who recruited me. Jeff, if you were listening to this, I want to say thank you for coming into my life and changing my whole trajectory of life. Coach Rick Shore, who was our fundamental coach, and he was my coach, coached me and got my left hand together. I had a weak left hand, but he was the one who stayed on me. And Coach Smithson, who saw the potential in myself and the team, and he was one of those guys who who stayed on us, didn't let us bow down to nothing. His whole motto was mental toughness, extra effort. MTX was branded in my heart and my brain. And Coach Smithson, I thank you. Coach Shore, I thank you. Coach Jones, I thank you. And my high school coach, Coach Ron Davis, thank you very much. And all I can say is Wichita State and Missouri Valley prepared me for the NBA. You know, everybody say when I got to the NBA, I was already there. And I think that was because of the tough competition that we had at Wichita State, tough competition we had at Missouri Valley Conference, but more importantly, the coaches that are prepared me, because I had my first year, my coach told me I should be paying him to play in the NBA because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. He called me a dumb A rookie the whole year. But I also thank him because he helped solidify my NBA career working hard. And if you don't work hard, just because you get somewhere does not mean you stop working. And I just kept working. And I want to thank my better half who's here with me, Val. Thank you for all the times I come home. I'm coaching now. I'm coaching a pro team in Kokomo, Indiana. Kokomo, come on, Bobcats. We got to win tonight. We got a game tonight. Our first game is this evening, and I'm not there, but I got a good coaching staff that's going to get us that first win. But like I said, Missouri Valley Committee, I want to thank you for honoring me and inducting me into Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Go Kokomo. Tickets on sale right now in the lobby. This is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And this league was a pioneer and has been a leader on the women's side of athletics from that point, or even before that point on. And our next inductee embodies how this league was able to build their women's programs into national prominence and bring prestige to our campuses and to the Valley. Cindy Scott was head women's coach at Southern Illinois from 1977 to 1998, posting 388 wins and 4 NCAA tournament appearances, including a 1987 trip to the Sweet 16. She won 70% of her league games against some really good coaches that are in this room. Fourth best all time with 353 league triumphs, the winningest women's basketball coach in Valley history. Her teams won 3 league titles, finished second 7 other times, 3-time Coach of the Year, undefeated conference season 86 and 87, posting 18-0 marks, while the program won 37 straight league games in the middle 1980s. While in the Gateway Collegiate Athletic Conference prior to the merger to the Valley, Cindy Scott guided the Salukis to 8 20-win campaigns and enjoyed a streak of 15 consecutive winning seasons under Coach Scott. As Valley correspondent Brad Gray shares, the St. Louis native, yes, one of the Golden Girls, was Great Scott for the Valley.
Yeah, Coach Scott legacy here. She is SIU women's basketball.
She's a winner.
Plain and simple, she's the winningest coach.
She was one of the best at what she did, and
she brought in the best teams, the best players.
I feel fortunate to have gotten to play for her.
Hi, Coach Scott. Congratulations on your induction into the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame. What a great honor, one that is well deserved.
Coach Scott is probably one of the most deserving coaches for this honor, just because she brought so much. I mean, on and off the court, she just held her own. She did it very professionally.
Oh, she's totally deserving, and it's long overdue in my opinion. I'm happy for her. I'm proud to say I played for her, and know that what she's done for Saluki women's basketball will always be remembered.
When I think of my time as a Saluki, when I think of my time playing for you, I I want to thank you for your intensity, your passion, your commitment, and your dedication to not only me, to our team, to Saluki Nation, and to all of women's basketball.
She got SIU women's basketball to where it had such national attention. Her and Charlotte West, I mean, you just can't say enough about what those women did for women's athletics at SIU.
Congratulations, Coach Scott. I'm very happy for you. I hope you let yourself celebrate this moment, and go Dogs.
I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy being celebrated and know that this is a well-deserved honor.
Yeah, Coach Scott, congratulations. This is awesome. I hope you enjoy everything, and as always, once a Saluki, always a Saluki.
Ladies and gentlemen, our newest inductee, Coach Cindy Scott.
Wow, thank you all so much. What an amazing honor this is. I'm so thankful and proud and humbled to be here today. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for including me in this year's class. And congratulations to my fellow inductees. It's so special to be a part of this class with Doug Elgin, one of the best conference commissioners in the history of college athletics. And Cliff, I watched you play at Wichita State and followed your storied NBA career. What a great player you were. And Charlie, what an impact you have made on the world of sports broadcasting. Everyone from New York to LA knows the voice of Charlie Steiner. And Carla, did you notice my retirement came the year before you entered the league? Believe me, I knew when it was time to get out. I'd like to recognize the members of the SIU administration who are here this morning. President Dan Mahoney, Chancellor Austin Lane, Interim Director of Athletics Matt Kupik, President of the Alumni Association Jeff Gleam, Director of Athletic Development Kate Hansen, and President of the Alumni Association Board, Molly Hutchins. Thank you all, our SIU people, for being here to support my induction this morning. I can't tell you what it means that you are here. Thank you. I retired from coaching at SIU in 1998 after 21 years and could never imagine that I would be standing here on quarterfinal morning of Arch Madness. I am a very, very proud St. Louis native. So to be honored in my hometown is so very special. Truth be told, my love affair with the sport of basketball began with the old St. Louis Hawks and Missouri Valley men's basketball, which was my first window into the world of college athletics. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to thank and acknowledge the people who have impacted my life. Individual coaching honors are greatly overrated. Coaching success is never, ever about one person. All of us in athletics know that. I graduated from Memphis State University in 1975 and went to SIU as the women's basketball graduate assistant. 2 years later, Dr. Charlotte West, then women's athletic director, took a chance on a 23-year-old and hired me as the head women's coach. To say I did not know what I did not know would be an understatement. But coaching was my passion, and I threw myself into trying to make our program one of the best. I was lucky to be working for Charlotte West, a national leader in the fight for gender equity and Title IX legislation. Charlotte made sure our program had what we needed to be successful. I learned a lot from Dr. Charlotte West, but most of all, the meaning of the words honesty and integrity. As we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Title IX, I marvel at how far women's sports have advanced. But I'm reminded every day that we all must commit to the continued growth of women's and girls' sports at all levels. In 1982, the NCAA started women's championships, and the Gateway Conference was formed with Patty Viverito as the commissioner. 10 years later, Patty guided the smooth transition of women's sports from the Gateway Conference into the Missouri Valley. Patty, thank you for 4 decades of being a tremendous, tremendous leader for women's sports in our conferences. Where are you, Patty? Thank you. You were awesome. The Gateway Conference was, and the Missouri Valley Conference continues to be one of the strongest women's basketball conferences in this country. There have been many great players, strong teams, and incredible coaches. During my tenure, Jill Hutchison, the head coach at Illinois State University, was the undeniable leader. Jill showed us how to respect and to give back to the game. Games were always extremely competitive, but Valley coaches had tremendous respect for one another. That lesson taught long ago by Jill still prevails in the Valley today. Assistant coaches rarely get the credit they deserve. Believe me when I say I would not be here this morning without mine. I was lucky to have several outstanding coaches during my career who all contributed greatly. My longtime associate head coach, Julie Beck, is here this morning. That's Julie. Julie was critical to our success. In my opinion, she was the best assistant coach in the Midwest, recruiting so many talented players to SIU. I might have been the face of our program, but Julie was the heartbeat. This award is just as much hers as it is mine. I was also lucky to have George Ubeldt on my staff for many years. George had been an assistant in our men's program for over 30 years and had an incredible basketball mind. So I had an X and O genius and a great recruiter. What more could a head coach want? So it takes a long time to grow old friends is one of my favorite phrases. I've been blessed with many wonderful old friends, both here in the Midwest and in Boston, some of whom are here today. Joe Hutchison, Julie Beck, Vicki King, Linda Herman, thank you all for loving me and accepting me for who I am. To my players, Petra is representing our players. Stand up, Petra. One of the greatest players that I had, a native St. Louisan. Thank you for representing all of our teammates. To my players, there's no question that you all are the reason I'm honored today. It was a privilege to be your coach. Talented, tough, and committed, you dedicated yourselves to excellence both on and off the court. All of you should be standing up here with me. Thank you for understanding my coaching passion and my intensity. I loved being your coach. Together we won championships and we earned bids to the NCAA tournament. You made me so proud and gave me memories that will last a lifetime. But most of all, I marvel at the successful women you have become and the ways you have made this world a better place. So many of you have stayed close through the years, and I am so grateful for that. This enshrinement in the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame is a total SIU women's basketball honor. When I retired from SIU, I went to Bentley University outside of Boston as the assistant director of athletics and had 22 wonderful years. As much as I love men's and women's basketball, I learned to love all of our Bentley sports. Former Bentley women's basketball coach Barbara Stevens is here this morning representing Bentley. When I got to Bentley, I thought I could offer some coaching advice. I had been a coach for a while, but was quickly told it would not be needed. And I guess she was correct in that assessment, as she was enshrined in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame last May. Most importantly, I would like to thank my family. My brother Mitch and his wife Barb are here this morning. My brother Cliff and his wife Shelley. My niece Jenny, who is here this morning and was recently inducted into the Wash University Athletic Hall of Fame as an All-American swimmer. And my two other nieces, Lindsay and Katie. And certainly my 5 beautiful great nieces and nephews, Jackson, Tucker, Caroline, Scotty, and Emmy. Lastly, I'd like to thank my parents, George and Dolores, my most steadfast fans. They taught me that I could do and be anything I wanted to be. We lost my dad 30 years ago, but I know how very, very proud he is today. My mom is 93 and a half years old and a rock star. She's not only my mom, but is and has always been my role model and my best friend. I'm so very proud of her and thrilled she is here today. Stand up, Mom. Can you stand up? Again, thank you to the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame for this incredible honor. On behalf of SIU Women's Basketball and Southern Illinois University, we thank you. Have a great day.
Congrats, Coach, and now we know the source of all that fire and passion. Mom. From the hilltop to the mountaintop, a 1971 Bradley graduate is our next inductee. He began his career in radio prior to joining ESPN's on-air talent in 1988, serving as one of the most popular Sports Center anchors ever, a boxing analyst, play-by-play announcer for college football and Major League Baseball. Charlie left ESPN in 2002 to become the Yankees radio play-by-play announcer, and he's now in his 17th year as the play-by-play announcer for the Los Angeles Dodgers after spending 3 years with the Yanks. In 2013, he was inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame and is a 5-time Emmy Award recipient, earning the Clarion Award for his coverage of the Mike Tyson rape trial and a Cable Ace Award for his work in the Muhammad Ali documentary produced for ESPN's Outside the Lines series. Bradley University, well represented here today, has the Charlie Steiner School of Sports Communications, the first named school of sports communication in the country. He's got an awesome voice, but his laugh may even be better. And one of his most famous of all time appearances was his laugh, and you'll see it. But it gives you a window into his spirit. As Valley correspondent Dave Snell relates, the longtime voice of the Braves, MLB followers in particular, have grown to love Uncle Charlie.
Charlie Steiner's road to the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame began when he left Long Island, New York for Peoria, Illinois, and Bradley University. While at Bradley, he began at a hot top 40 station, WIRL, as a newscaster, and following his graduation from Bradley, the class of '71, his professional ascension was slow and steady, working in Davenport, New Haven, Hartford, then to Cleveland, where he added television to his vast radio experience, then to the broadcast booth as voice of the USFL's New Jersey Generals and the New York Jets. It was then to ESPN, where he was quick-witted, a talented writer, and provided some of the most hilarious moments of all time.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see? And the Rockets, red flag.
Uh-oh. Sarge national anthem. Written by Francis. Written by Francis Scott Off-Key. What was in a Scottsdale, Arizona courtroom paying a $90 fine after pleading, after pleading guilty to public urination. Perpetrator is alleged to have told the policeman, I can't stop now, I have to finish.
He's been the voice of the two most famous franchises in sports. First with the New York Yankees.
His first at-bat of the game. There's a fly ball deep to left. It's on its way. There it goes. And the Yankees are going to the World Series. Aaron Boone has hit a home run.
Then his beloved Los Angeles Dodgers.
2 out. Urias to Adames. Call strike 3. The Dodgers win. Finally, the wait is over. The Dodgers are the champions of 2020 in a year like no other.
Charlie being able to do so many of the baseball broadcasts over the years, and now moving into what he said was his dream job as a kid, to broadcast for the Dodgers. He was hoping it was going to be the Brooklyn Dodgers. It turned out to be the LA Dodgers. But we have a unique blend, and it's nice to know every day and every moment that the guy sitting next to you, first of all, you like. Secondly, he's very good. And the other part is there's a great trust that we have, because I know he has my back during a broadcast and he knows I have his during a broadcast.
Charlie is given a gift of passing the baton to the next generation by establishing the Charlie Steiner School of Sports Communication. The Bradley Hall of Famer has held symposiums bringing the sports industry's very finest to Peoria, Illinois, to talk to students enrolled in his school.
Charlie, on behalf of everybody at Bradley University, congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. It's a well-deserved honor, and you should know that your sharing your expertise and your name has elevated Bradley University's profile and has transformed the lives of hundreds of students, and it'll continue through the years. So my congratulations and my sincere thank you, Charlie.
In the dozen years, the curriculum that bears his name has produced hundreds of graduates, now in various levels of the written and electronic media.
Follow me to freedom.
The man that led us to freedom during Y2K has now led men and women to realize their dreams, just as he did and has. Today, we follow him and recognize his legacy to the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Steiner.
Well, that was embarrassing. I would not be here today had it not been for two people, Vin Scully and Chet the Jet Walker. Vin, of course, is the Babe Ruth of my business. He's the greatest baseball broadcaster of all time, probably the best sportscaster of all time. And when I was 5 years old, growing up on Long Island, little house, post-war baby boomer, in my mom's kitchen, there was a radio about this large. And it was the first time I heard a baseball game. And there was a crowd noise. You could hear the public address announcer off in the back, the crack of the bat. And then there was this voice. And it was Vin's voice. And he hooked me. And I knew when I was 5 or 6 years old, this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. And maybe, just maybe, I could be the Dodger announcer someday. Well, 3 years into that dream, the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. So there went that career move, at least in the short term. As I was growing up and listening to the radio, and then in those days we had a television game 3-4 days a week, and I would turn the sound down, and I would announce the game, and I would scream my fool head off, and my parents would be upstairs preparing lunch or dinner. exhorting all the confidence in me as possible, and they would say, "Please keep it down there, will you?" But I was okay. And so I announced Dodger games when I was 5 years old in my basement. Fast forward 65 years later, I'm announcing for the Dodgers. Because of the pandemic, I'm announcing the World Series from my living room in LA. One could never have expected that career path. And for the 12 of now, going on 18 years with the Dodgers, I got to work with and become friends with the great Vin Scully. Brings me to Chet the Jet Walker, who graduated Bradley in '62, and about that time I was 13 years old. And I would devour all the sports sections in all the papers, and somehow this school in Peoria got an inordinate amount of attention in the papers. So I started focusing in on Bradley. And when the time came to apply for schools, I thought, well, Bradley just might be the ticket. What did a kid from Long Island know from Peoria? It didn't matter. And I thought maybe I can call a few basketball games there and I could get my career going. The moment I walked onto campus, September the 1st, 1967, my first stop was at the college radio station. Listening audience of countless dozens, didn't matter. I was behind a microphone to get my career started. Across the hall was the newspaper, the Bradley Scout. You saw my itinerary, I'll not bore you with that. But one of the things as my career began to take off, and it's only coincidentally, so did the media, sports broadcasting. It obviously now is at a level that we've never seen before, and Lord knows the direction it's going to take. And around 1990, perhaps, Bradley started to add broadcasting classes. When I was there in the Neanderthal years, there was Radio TV 101 and Radio TV 201, and that was it. And as the years went on, and suddenly now I'm beginning to get some notoriety, the school started to think about having a broadcasting school, communication school. And that seemed like just a wonderful idea. And I did not know at the time, and only upon reflection, how many exceptional sportscasters came out of Bradley. Excuse me while I whip this out. Jack Brickhouse, Chick Hearn, Ralph Lawler, Vince Lloyd, Tom Kelly, Denny Matthews, Baseball Hall of Fame broadcaster with the Royals, Bill King, Hall of Fame broadcaster with the A's, the Raiders, and the Warriors, the late Bob Starr with the Cardinals, and the late Mark Holtz. And to be part of that group, one of the things we're trying to do in our sports communication school is play with the big boys. And I believe we're in the process of doing that. As we mentioned, we have quite a few kids who've gone on into the industry, and looking ahead, Bobby Nightingale is the beat writer now for the Cincinnati Reds. And Larry Larson, who's still a student, but this summer will be broadcasting for the Beloit Sky Carp, the high A team for the Miami Marlins. Point is that had it not been for Vin, had it not been for Chet the Jet, had it not been for Bradley, had it not been for the Missouri Valley Conference, I would not be here today. And so on behalf of Bradley, and the Steiner School, and all the students there, thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Charlie. Our next inductee, and Charlie, if it wouldn't be for Bradley in the Valley, you wouldn't be here. If it wouldn't be for our next inductee, none of us would be here. Here's a script I'm supposed to read. I'm not going to read it. I figured out it was about 3:30 this morning, staring out the window, getting ready for this awesome day, that Doug Elgin has been a part of 42.18% of my life. He has been a part of that percentage or more of most of the people in this room. We wouldn't be here without Doug Elgin. There would be no Arch Madness. Not sure what the Valley would look like. 33 years, Doug, who was called an idiot or a fool for trying to build a big-time neutral site tournament from the Missouri Valley Conference instead of having on host schools, said, we're going to go to St. Louis and we're going to build something, and people laughed and scoffed and ridiculed. There is an image I will never forget as the Lord gives me breath in this life. It is the image of Doug propping a knee up on the bleachers here in 2006-07, and he didn't know I saw him, but I looked through the gap because the Enterprise Center had every seat sold out in this building. It could have been a Blues Stanley Cup final, but it wasn't. It was Arch Madness, and it was sold out. And when there was no curtain covering the top row. Not only that, but Doug built this league into national prominence. His bracket buster idea, scoffed at, laughed at, what an idiot, became something that really, Charlie, redefined ESPN. ESPN needed something like March Madness in February. They got it. And the term mid-major took on a whole new meaning because the bracket buster weekend was a really big deal. And it helped build this league into what it is today. And it helped build places like Gonzaga and VCU and others. It was his idea. He's been on the NCAA selection committee. He was on the NIT selection committee. All 10 schools represented here, and next year at this time, there will be 12, are as diverse in your missions as the student athletes and the students that are on your campus. Jeff knows this because he's been involved with both the Big South and the Big 12. He's been involved in 9 different conferences. It takes the wisdom of Solomon and the courage of a warrior to take all 10 schools and blend them together, much like a coach like Cindy Scott would have to blend together 10 different personalities to make an awesome team. Doug took 10 schools, some came, some left, all thrived with Doug Elgin as commissioner. And he brought them all together to be on a mission of moving forward, to somehow compete against each other, but somehow band together to become one of the top conferences in the country. And don't put a label on it. People have asked me many, many times, why are you in that league? Why do you even, and I said, just spend 3 days with me or 4 days in St. Louis. This event, yesterday's event that Jeff talked about. Because the student athlete is enhanced. Every one of your campuses is enhanced. And a huge reason of that is a guy who dedicated his life to almost all of us in this room. We've got a great group of inductees this year into this hall. You have seen that over the last several minutes. But this inductee is just a bit different. Because he is truly, I think Cindy said it, one of the most remarkable administrators and leaders in college sports history. But we would not be here without our next inductee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jay Douglas, Doug Elgin. I'm sorry, we have a video to play. I went off script. Thank you, Jack R. Watkins, who we didn't mention him when we mentioned all the Valley staff. So Jack, I might resign. Jack R. Watkins reminds me we've got a video to watch, and we should watch it.
Doug Elgin became the Missouri Valley Conference's 9th commissioner in May of 1988. He is the longest-serving commissioner in the league's 115-year history, and prior to his retirement on June 30, 2021, he was the longest-tenured commissioner employed at any of the NCAA's multi-sport Division I conferences. Under his direction, league staff paved the way to establish St. Louis as a long-term neutral site for the State Farm MVC men's basketball tournament beginning in 1991, which is one of the most significant developments in the MVC's modern era. The conference celebrated the 30th anniversary of Arch Madness in St. Louis in 2020.
It made for a more competitive and fair level of competition, and it led to the term Arch Madness. It led to exciting finishes, unbelievable performances, and every year it seemed like there were upsets. So that was the vision and leadership of Doug Elgin and the term Arch Madness. Thank you, Doug.
The Valley also followed suit with its women's basketball tournament, moving the event to a neutral site at the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri in 2008 before relocating to the championships now held at the Quad Cities back in 2016. To honor his years of service to league membership and his dedication to the execution and planning of Arch Madness, the Most Outstanding Player Award of the Men's Basketball Championship carries his name. Doug Elgin's tenure as commissioner, the league staff has also been a driving force establishing the city of St. Louis as a frequent stop on the NCAA basketball tournament trail. In 1993, the MVC hosted the NCAA Men's Midwest Regional at the St. Louis Arena, a first step that began an incredible run that would see the staff manage 11 more NCAA basketball events at sporting venues in St. Louis, including the 2001 and 2009 Women's Final Fours, the 2005 Men's Final Four, and 8 more men's NCAA regional or first and second round tournaments. Elgin has been a member of both the NCAA Men's Basketball Committee from 1999 to 2002 and the National Invitational Tournament Committee from 2016 to 2019, and previous service has also included terms on the NCAA Men's Basketball Oversight Committee and the NCAA Administration Cabinet.
I was coming in as a new member, and he mentored me through the whole process. He was a godsend to me. And I would say that Doug is all about relationships. He wants to help people. And as I look back on all the things he did to help me prepare for that task at hand, he always takes it a step further.
A native of Hagerstown, Maryland, Elgin is a 1973 graduate of Lafayette College, and he earned his master's degree in sports administration from Ohio University in 1975. For the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm Scott Warman.
Plus, he was a really good running back at Lafayette. Jack, ready? Ladies and gentlemen, the newest inductee into the Missouri Valley Conference Hall of Fame, J. Douglas, Doug Elgin.
This is absolutely surreal, and I've got a lot of tough acts to follow up here, but it's great to see all the colleagues and friends that have come here today for this. I just want to say, and this is off the script a little bit, but Mitch Holtis is the greatest ambassador we've ever had, and I swear he's not my PR agent. but I appreciate that, all the tributes there. I have been privileged to be in attendance at every one of the 25 previous Missouri Valley Hall of Fame ceremonies. But today it's much different. I'm getting a portrait rather than handing out a bunch of these. My sincere thanks to the President's Council and the Hall of Fame Committee for bypassing the 5-year rule, waiving that 5-year rule to get me in the hall this early. I didn't want to be 76 standing up here, so it's really to my benefit that that's happened. But from my very first day here at the Missouri Valley, I felt like the job was a really good fit for me. I had previous experience with 2 great men, both my mentors. Gene Corrigan was the athletics director at the University of Virginia when I was hired there as the SID. In the heyday of the ACC, Ralph Sampson, Michael Jordan, James Worthy, the whole group. And later on, Mr. Corrigan went on as the AD at Notre Dame and eventually became the commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference. And Vic Bubas was my commissioner when I served as an assistant commissioner at the basketball-centric Sun Belt Conference in Tampa. And that experience really prepared me to step into my role here at the Missouri Valley. Both of these men, by the way, served on the NCAA basketball committee. Vic Bubas was the chair of it, and I learned a heck of a lot from those guys about how to game the system, how to get teams in by strengthening schedules and that type of strategy. During my long tenure here, there really is so much to celebrate and so much to remember. And it's been a really wonderful ride for me to be in this position. And as I reflect on my tenure in the Missouri Valley, I had a great staff with unusual continuity. And 5 members of our senior management team served together for 30 or more years. And that's very unusual, particularly in a small organization like we had. We only had five staff members when I joined in the summer of 1988. But I really felt, and that, by the way, the nucleus of that was Patty Viverito, Joe Mitch, Mike Kern, and Jack Watkins. And 4 of those folks are still employed. You know, wait a minute here. Their commitment and work ethic really lifted this conference, and I certainly will always be grateful for what they did in terms of lifting this league. People often ask me to list the accomplishments that were most significant during my 33 years. And first and foremost, I would think that I'm proudest of how our teams have competed. Virtually every one of our programs, team sports, has been certainly competed very well nationally. What our men's basketball teams have done coming out of St. Louis is totally unbelievable. 43 wins in the NCAA tournament since 1994, 12 trips to the Sweet 16, 2 Final Four appearances. And if you look at the list of opponents that they've beaten in that time span, it reads like an all-time top 20. I didn't want to mention this. I decided I would not, but I'm going to break that. I'm going to do it. During that period, the Missouri Valley was 8-6 against the Big 12 Conference. I just wanted to throw that out because Jeff Jackson realizes what this league has meant in strength of basketball, and he made that very clear during the interview process. And I'm certainly glad that he has succeeded me in the position. But sorry about that, Jeff. Our women's basketball teams have had similar success. 6 teams have reached the Sweet 16, 2 appearances in the Final Four, including the Lady Bears' run to the 2001 Final Four hosted here in St. Louis by the Missouri Valley Conference. I think really the biggest thing that happened in my long tenure here was moving this tournament, State Farm MVC tournament, to St. Louis. And I think the video showed that pretty much. There can be no doubt that the tournament clearly elevated the league in terms of the stature and the way it appeared to the public. You know, there were several other positive outcomes that came out of that over time. CBS, the network of March Madness, secured the rights to airing our championship game in 2006. I don't believe that would have happened if it hadn't been for us elevating our biggest event. That probably would not have happened. And very importantly, the experience gained by our staff running this event in St. Louis, working with the St. Louis Sports Commission and the corporations here in St. Louis, that helped us to kind of relentlessly pursue the opportunity to host, I need a drink, to host the NCAA tournament events in our city. And during the time of 94 to now, the number of events that we've hosted has been really spectacular. Thank you. Most unusual, and here's to you all. But, you know, I think that as I look back on my time here, my most cherished moments will center on the friendships that I've made in my time in the Missouri Valley. With men and women in this conference, with corporate partners, with media. We've got the best radio guys in the country. The longest tenured radio guys and gals in the country are in the Missouri Valley, and several of those are here tonight, this afternoon. I've always had a lot of respect for our campus leadership, our CEOs, athletic administrators, coaches who are on the front line with all the challenges that are in place today that are facing college athletics this day, at this time. We've had a very collaborative culture, and I've always really been proud of the ways in which we've supported our student athletes and coaches. Thank you for your attendance today. I've had a wonderful experience with this league, and certainly I'm looking forward to continuing to keep in touch with people at the staff, on the staff, and moving forward with retirement. Thank you.
Those of you who know him well know that you can have 4 conversations with Doug all at the same time. He'll be on his 4th topic. I'm going, can we go back to topic 2? Because I'm a little lost here. My favorite Doug Elgin thing was during Bracket Buster. And that was always an exciting time because all the teams are battling nationally. And I remember we're following the election returns, and gosh, you know, Northern Iowa's got Bucknell beat. It's a big deal. And he said, I think that Drake leads Butler at Hinkle Fieldhouse. I said, Doug, aren't you at that game? He said, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm at that game. What a day. What a time. And not easy to replace a guy 33 years, but Jeff is the right dude. And this is going to get real exciting. And adding these 3 schools is going to be awesome as we move forward. That's just kind of the way the Valley works, and how it moves and thrives and flourishes. What a great group of inductees today. That includes our President's Hall of Fame breakfast. We now get ready for our semifinal Friday. And a reminder that we have got to clear out this room at our President's Hall of Fame breakfast as soon as possible. The Stiefel Theater staff has got to change over. They've got a next event in this room really quickly. It's how we work in the Valley. It's how it goes. But thank you for having this venue for us. Now, to attend today's afternoon session of the tournament, just a reminder, you've got to depart the Stiefel Theater and enter the Enterprise Center with your game ticket. So it's a little bit of a maneuver to leave and come back, hopefully there for our noon game. But anyway, thank you for our support for the Missouri Valley Conference, for Arch Madness, and enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy the madness. Thank you very much.